Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogens. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday today. Today is Tuesday, April 3rd. Wait, no, today is the 4th. My bad. Sorry. Today is Tuesday, April 4th, and today is Sexual Assault Awareness Day of Action. National Walk Around Things Day, because that's what you're going to have to do if you're out in New York today. It's also Jeep 4x4 Day, because I guess just having your own secret wave isn't enough. And National School Librarian Day, because everybody should read more books. It's also National Hug a New Person Day, because I guess you don't know enough people. And it's National Vitamin C Day, because everybody needs to get a little bit more healthy. And, of course, Gretchen needs to know what to cook for dinner tonight, so it is National Chicken Cordon Bleu Day. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like and share and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You use that fancy little QR code right there in the top-hand corner of your screen to find out where we live on the internet. And we're live every Monday through Friday on YouTube and audio only on Clubhouse. And if you are joining us in Clubhouse, you can also participate in the show by raising your hand if you have a brief comment on the story most recently presented. But without further ado, we are going to kick it off this morning with the dope dad. That's right, the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte, who is in a transitional space right now, hoping that the maids don't come and knock on his door and ask him if he needs his pillow to be fluffed. That's right. It is the dope dad, Rico Lamitte.
You know, I wouldn't mind a good fluffing right now, Jason. Anyways, let's talk about data. So Cannabis and Analytics, an insight company, Headset, releases annual cannabis key demographic report yesterday, highlighting market trends by utilizing data from millions of transactions across the U.S., 8 U.S. states and 2 Canadian provinces, to map out how marketers and sales professionals should be pointing their North Stars going forward for 2023. The report highlighted key shifts tied to gender and age, and although currently millennial sales and millennial males dominate the landscape in both the US and Canada, accounting for almost 2/3 of all sales, the scene is definitely changing. You can check out and download the full report through the link in the article, but here are my 4 big takeaways. Number 1, Gen Z is actually buying their own shit now and no longer bumming hits off of your stash. Millennial and Gen Z consumers now account for 72.1% of all tracked sales and 63% in the US, with Gen Z being the fastest growing age group in both countries. Percent share of year over year total sales up 11.3% and 6% respectively. Women are slowly and steadily catching up to men as far as buying goes. While males still account for roughly 2/3 of sales overall, 2022 saw females slightly gaining traction, up 1.2% and 0.27% respectively. Vapes are now the new king of sales, becoming the first demographic to unseat flower as the top consumer category, as they accounted for over 33% of sales in January and February. And finally, If you want to increase your sales revenue, talk to more mature audiences. More data continues to support higher ticket sales correlating with older customers. The average basket size of Gen X and baby boomers is above $60, while the average basket size of millennials and Gen Z consumers remains below 55 and has been stagnant over the last 4 years. If you're marketing any kind of product to cannabis consumers, before everything else, you got to know who's buying what, when, and where. And with the tools we have access to today, things can get confusing if you don't know where to start. While digital tools like headset reporting, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more AI-powered products hitting the market soon, doing a lot more than headset can do. These tools can provide valid data points from a huge pool of consumers in different regions, absolutely essential for launching or expanding your own efforts. But I think we should still use them to enhance the process, not to replace human beings, because you always need that qualitative side, and you can never ever replace that, especially in our industry when we know a lot more than the numbers are just telling us. But that's just me. I'm a big data nerd myself. I'd love to hear what everybody else has to say about this one. This is Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street for High 9 News.
Yeah, flower is still king in Nevada. In our lab, we do about 70% flower, about 25% extract, and then about 5% other, edibles and topicals. So I still see flower, lots and lots and lots of flower being consumed in Nevada. What's happening in California?
California, flower is about 60% of the market.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Out here is still king.
Yes. Flowers.
I don't think I'll ever.
I think it's pretty. I think it's pretty much like pretty even across most markets. Vapes, it's pre-rolls, flower, and vapes. Those are the top 3 selling products, in any market really. And I think a lot of it is like, the nostalgia that comes with the cannabis for a lot of the, consumers that are not millennials, and then for a lot of the millennials, which millennials, by the way, is 1981 to like. What is it, 1981 to 2001?
No.
Yeah,
no. I swear to God, on my life, I just read this and I was as shocked as you are. I was shocked.
You're on the internet right now.
Yeah,
91.
Hey, can we get a bet? Can we get a
Are you
$100
sure?
bet?
Look it up. Someone Google it right now.
1981 to 1996.
There you go.
Wow.
That's bullshit.
What's the
I
question?
know. I'm 87.
Millennial.
I was just saying, like, millennials are really on the vape trend more than all of the other users, and so we'll see the vape category grow more. But everywhere in the United States it's pretty much the same. It's flower, pre-rolls, and vapes. Whether vapes overtakes pre-rolls or whatever, those are the top 3 selling products.
I think millennials, then, if millennials are 81 to 96, millennials are the ones that are consuming flower. It's the Gen Zers that are not.
I know. I agree. I agree with you. But I didn't know millennials were such a large swath. I thought there was a Gen Y in there somewhere. What the hell happened to Gen Y? It just got replaced by millennial. It's kind of crazy.
Interesting. Well, I think flower will remain king because that is it is the biggest part of the plant, and people want to consume what has been illegal for so long. The new stuff, which is vaporizing, that's really only for in states that have actual plants.
But not. I don't think it has anything to do with cannabis. I think vaporizing is just a trend that's taken over from the tobacco side of things. So it's like even the purists, and this is what we could talk about this another time, but every purist I know that's like, oh, I'll only smoke solventless, I'll only do that, has a freaking jewel in their pocket too, and they're smoking propylene glycol. So fuck all that heady boy dumb shit. Sorry.
It's different, bro.
I don't think it's different, but I think that's what's creating the trend. I think it's that social kind of movement, and then it's like vaping cannabis is just as easy. It's like a plug and play kind of thing. So I think vape trend is going to go up. It's going to hockey stick as those Gen Zers become the more prominent category of consumer.
I don't know. I find it interesting. Jesse Barney, he says, only in America is flower king. Hash rules the world.
I love what Jesse says. Hash rules everything around me.
But isn't a lot of that boof hash?
What do you mean boof hash? Like it's just ancient way of making hash. But I mean, honestly, bro, if you've ever smoked Lebanese or Moroccan or any of the hash from like the Pakistani, Afghani border, I'll tell you, it's like a whole different effect. It's a completely different high. I think it has to do a lot with where it's grown, but it's like the processing. They've been processing that cannabis flower the same way for centuries. You know, I mean, that's the
shout out to
respect.
Frenchie,
you know, respect to our fallen peer and our fallen hero. You know, Frenchie was a hero of mine. I got a chance to speak on a panel with him. The guy literally took the ancient way and brought it to the new world, and he was the reason why we still even make hash like that anymore, or else everyone's making the new age hash, as I like to call it. You know, it's like, you know, processing this stuff's completely different, but there's still some people keeping the hope alive. Cherry Blossom Bell, shout out to her.
Shout out to Dank Duchess.
There you go, Dank Duchess. Yep. And Cherry Blossom up in NorCal. Everyone's, you know, let's keep it real. That hash is fire. You know, I know there's a lot of people are gonna, you know, disagree with me, but between that and some of this normal rosin that's going around, I don't know, man.
I used to get this hash back in the day that was a solid brick. It was like a kilo, and it had like the gold, like royal stamped on it. Wow. Yeah, I used to see a bunch of that.
I mean, that's the real stuff right there.
That was the real. That was the real. When we didn't have to send anything to testing, we could just sell weed.
Good old days.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not in love with Headsets data.
You're not in love with Headsets data?
No.
Are you saying this because you're partial to other companies' data, or?
No, I'm partial to real data. And
Okay.
if you read the report,
Ooh,
right?
The data is only coming from 8 states. They're also including 2 Canadian provinces, and we know Canada has issues with what their. I don't think flower is dead. I at all.
I agree.
I do agree that, you know, vape is coming more online. I think they should have made some type of effort to also look at consumption in illicit markets. That is a possibility. I've done it with other folks. I think their sales, I think the data that they're using is incomplete to really take many great takeaways from it.
Agreed.
I wonder if they're just trying to promote more vaping and trying to
Yeah, who paid for this research?
Spin vaping again.
Yeah, who paid for this research? Follow the money.
I don't think anyone paid for the research. I think this is definitely a marketing exercise by Headset to try and sell their platform to people, because that's what I used to do at New Frontier. We put out reports all the time to push what we were doing.
All of them.
And my experience with Headset, and I know Cy well, and I have no qualms with the work that they do, except they are very West Coast focused. West Coast, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so they don't have much of a foothold. I mean, there's nothing about Illinois in here. It talks about the younger demographics. Well, what the hell's going on in Florida where all the old people are? I don't know. I just think that they've left off some very key markets that would be important.
I don't think they have data from a lot of those markets, so they left it out.
I understand that, but you can't paint a national picture with only 8 markets, is what I'm saying, when there's cannabis legal in 40 markets.
Agreed.
You definitely can't win a presidential election with 8 states.
Well, Trump ain't gonna win jack coming up.
Yay!
Somebody had to go there.
Indictment day, right?
I gave you the alley-oop, Gretchen. You're welcome.
How many states is Trump going to win?
He's going to win 271 electoral votes. That's all that matters.
He's going to win the Miss Penal
here we go.
pageant.
How many votes will he need to win this election?
Yeah, we're gonna go to commercial so we don't get caught up in all of the hysteria today. Let's go to a commercial, Adam.
How's it going, guys? Saman Razani coming to you from Green Street here with Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast available on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify? Tune in now and check it out.
Oh, yeah, he is West Hollywood's right-leaning president of cannabis tourism and is actively soliciting votes for a former president.
Don't need to solicit them. They're just giving them themselves. Look at how much money you raised already off of this.
Once again, he will not come short in the pockets because he is
criminals supporting criminals.
the nation's greatest of all time grifter, Donald J. Trump. You don't know who it is. Coming to the stage next, the cannabis industry's longest continuously operating retailer and notable $100 better. Jason Beck, what do you have for us today?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Hundreds. That's right. In the streets, especially in the streets of New York, because there's a new court in New York, and the New York okays 99 more pot shop licenses after a new court ruling. New York regulators approved 99 new provisional licenses for adult use marijuana dispensaries Monday as they try to speed up the rollout of a legal market that had been impeded by a court ruling. New York legalized adult use marijuana for adult use 2 years ago, although only 7 shops have opened up so far. I think that number is off. The rollout has slowed in part by a federal court ruling last fall. That put retail licensing on hold in some regions, including Brooklyn and the Buffalo area. And legal operations are also undermined by a proliferation of unlicensed stores. A federal appeals court lifted most of that injunction last week, paving the way for the Cannabis Control Board to provisionally approve licenses in those areas as part of the 99 green lighted on Monday. Applicants still need to complete a supplemental application, and in a quote, "We're absolutely thrilled that we're able to expand the rollout of legalized cannabis across almost every region of the state," said board chairwoman Termaine Wright. New York has now provisionally approved 165 retail dispensary licenses, and licensing was temporarily blocked by a federal judge hearing a legal challenge to the state's selection process. The company's Versacate New York one claims that the state's selection process favors New York residents over out-of-state residents in violation of the constitutional interstate commerce protections. And the ruling last week from the U.S. Second Circuit Court of Appeals allows the state to hand out licenses in Brooklyn, Central New York, the Mid-Hudson region, and Western New York, while upholding the block on them in the Finger Lakes region while a lawsuit continues. Well, I'll tell you what, New York, oh man, you have a tough road up ahead, and the more of these places you get open, I think is fantastic and all and great. But I'm still not seeing anything about you guys enforcing on your illicit market. And if you think customers are just going to go and travel to regulated places because they're regulated, you got another thing coming. And this is Jason Beck reporting for the High at 9 News Hour. What do y'all think?
Okay, so one of my lessons that I learned in lobbying and advocacy efforts here in Nevada was understanding that, and that's the reason that the CCB opened up applications for consumption lounges to everyone in the country, not just people inside of Nevada. Why? Because they would open themselves up for litigation, just like Illinois did, just like Michigan did, by limiting the applicants to only inside the state.
Yeah, this started in May.
Really simple, easy fix. All you had to do was open it to everyone in the country instead of just people inside of New York. And you would have just watched what other markets have done, and you would have avoided litigation.
Well, and Jason,
they wanted that litigation. They wanted that smoke. What about that?
Yeah, they want to hold up the process because that's what it does.
Of course, they want to hold up that process.
Kick the can.
Okay. So while yes, the illicit market is raging in New York City, it's not raging like it is in. There's nothing going on in Buffalo. There are not guys sitting out on street corners when it's 10 feet of snow. So the opportunity for Buffalo to open dispensaries. And I believe 4 licenses are opening up in Buffalo with this moving forward. I think this is a good thing for the rest of the state to kind of start moving forward. Sucks for the Finger Lakes. I think you're going to see better things coming to New York. I think this is really going to help turn the tide. Now, 100 licenses, that's simmer. 100 like simmer. Hold your horses.
Simmer down.
Simmer. I do think with them issuing this many licenses, you are going to see enforcement coming. and it's going to be swift, and people are going to have to get ready for it. It's coming.
Gretchen, it's going to be as swift. It's going to be as swift as it takes for the sun to go around the freaking solar system. It's going to
be as swift as Jason Bet.
It's bureaucracy. It's bureaucracy. They're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to enforce laws until they have money from these licenses, I'm sorry, getting paid for by these applicants. It's not going to be for a long time. We see this in every state. It takes years for them to actually crack the whip. And of course, New York, they're already way more ballsy than just anybody. They're New Yorkers. So, they're going to get it in. They're going to get it in. But Jason's right.
That's right.
It's going to be a mess over there for a long time because their lack of enforcement and because they're, all of these municipalities have to get on board with all this. And so you're going to have the Finger Lakes people driving to wherever the heck they're going to have to drive to get their product, and it's going to deter them. So, as long as there's a free market that's reigning all over the city, there's not gonna be anybody capitulating to the regulated market.
Saman, have you hung out much in rural New York?
No.
There ain't nothing there.
I mean, you know what?
Are not driving 6 hours.
But they still smoke weed.
Hold on, Saman. Gretchen's right on this. You go out to the Hamptons, you can't even get an Uber.
The Hamptons.
You're not driving 6 hours.
All they have is taxi cabs, bro. All they have is taxi
happening.
cabs in the Hamptons. You can't even get an Uber out there.
I'm sure the Hamptons qualifies as rural New York.
It's pretty rural to me. There's a lot of mosquitoes and a lot of trees.
Of course, Gretchen,
I think you're Buffalo. Yeah, you're Buffalo. I do agree with what you're saying in rural areas, but I think Buffalo is a bad example because Buffalo is trapped.
Less
city.
cosmopolitan, we shall say.
And by the way, I do just want to state for the record.
Rough.
I do have to state for the record that the reason Gretchen tells me to simmer down is because I'm so hot.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. Oh,
it must be.
Oh, my God.
Clearly.
I'm gonna turn off my camera while I puke.
You are a very handsome man, Jason. Don't let them tell you anything different.
I know. Haters are gonna hate. That's what haters do.
All right, haters, let's move on. I can't handle much more of this.
Moving for tubing.
Amazing.
Let's give it
Let's roll, Rico. Do we miss a commercial? We didn't miss a commercial. We're going on to Gretchen. You all right?
It's your intro. It's your intro.
Oh, it's my intro. Shit. You know what? Hey, I'm sorry, guys.
He's busy looking at himself in the camera, going,
"Yeah." You know, I was just clicking on. I was just clicking on to run the show. I apologize.
You see that right? You see that right shoulder moving?
Yeah. That's totally my bad. I apologize. Coming up next, that's right. It's the feisty redhead that loves to talk trash, loves to rain on people's parade while dressing her dogs up in clown uniforms, and sometimes those are rain suits. That's right. It is the founder of Panoptic Strategies, Gretchen Gailey.
Thank you. I only speak facts that Jason Beck can handle, and his wallet can't back up. All right. My headline is coming from the Lexington Herald Leader, because there's nothing going on in Washington right now. Everybody's in recess and just waiting on Trump to go to jail. The headline is medical marijuana not here yet, but new cannabis bar will open on 4/20 in Lexington. 2 Lexington businesswomen are opening a new bar on Manchester that promises to bring a whole new buzz to the distillery district, and they are ready to jump into medical marijuana as well. Although Governor Andy Beshear signed legislation into law on March 31st, medical marijuana won't be accessible until 2025. But wait, can you have the legal option now? Cannabis Bar hopes to open its dispensary by April 20th, a date associated with enthusiasm for marijuana. Across from a new boutique hotel under construction and near the Grand Reserve and speakeasy venues owned by Jill Bakhorn. We'll be one of the first businesses putting this out there, and it's all natural, Bakhorn said. Bakhorn is partnering with longtime hemp advocate Annie Rouse, who started OP Innovates to market hemp products, including Overcome, Hemp Mellow, and now 13th Floor. As I went through COVID with a catering business and probably the second largest venue in town and all that shut down, I just had to keep my mind active, Bakhorn said. Rouse began using Bacorn's commercial kitchen to package her products, and Bacorn wanted to introduce cannabis-based relaxation experiences to her lineup of offerings. They are opening in a space leased from Wildcat Moving and Storage that decades ago housed a dive bar. Now it will have a dispensary and soon an elixir bar to serve products to people looking for a natural high, such as edibles and elixirs. The elixir bar will focus on non-alcoholic products that will promote health and wellness for your mind and body. That's what people ultimately want to know. Hey, am I able to alter my mind or my experience? Yes, you can. This is how, and we're doing it legally, and we're doing it naturally. Yes, you got that right. Cannabis Bar will sell cannabis products with serious buzz legally. How is that possible? Rouse, who has been working to legalize hemp products in Kentucky for decades, said that cannabis sativa or hemp products with up to 0.3% THC are legal, and her offerings will be all natural. They're all natural plant-derived cannabinoids. Most of the products are made from hemp grown in Kentucky, but some are from other states, including Colorado. Right now, we can do microdose THC concentrations, which provide a really nice relaxation effect. Her products are geared toward a variety of wellness aims, from elevating mental focus and mood to easing pain and inflammation. Her Overcome brands also offer a range of potencies, including some without THC. But some products do quite a bit more. Our Hemp Mellow, which has been microdose levels of Delta-9 THC, all legal at a federal level. Our Mellow Dreams, which uses CBN with different terpenes plus microdose levels of THC, CBD, and other cannabinoids, create a really great sleep formula. Then we have another brand called 13th Floor, which actually capitalizes on the THC levels that can be found in legally derived hemp products. It's a natural alternative to Delta-8. These products differ from chemically created Delta-8 THC products. Legislation recently signed by Governor Andy Beshear will establish regulations this summer for sale of hemp-derived products, which will restrict it to those 21 and over. Next door to the retail store will be a health bar where Bacorn will offer edible and drinkable concoctions with THC, CBD, and other hemp-derived chemicals in buzzboards. Rouse and Bacorn plan to apply for a license to serve alcohol and also hope to apply for a license to dispense medical marijuana now that the General Assembly has legalized it. It's all cannabis. Hemp is cannabis, marijuana is cannabis. They're the same plant, just different varieties. I think what COVID really taught the hemp industry is that people want THC. Just like people want alcohol, they want to escape, they want an intoxicant, and COVID really shined a light on that. You saw people were lining up around the corner for dispensaries. That's when the Delta-8 movement started gaining a lot of momentum, and people shifted from buying CBD to buying Delta-8. People thought CBD would provide pain relief or escape, but for many it didn't provide enough. Yada, yada, yada. Hopes and dreams in Kentucky. One day when Kentucky finally accepts this plant back into its crop rotations, we'll be here showing all the visitors and tourists that come here that Kentucky is the hemp and cannabis capital of the world. I appreciate these ladies' optimism and the efforts that they're going to take. I don't know how well this is really going to work out for them. I could see this being the first arrest coming in the next few weeks because I can see somebody not appreciating what they're trying to do. And I'm not quite sure on some of their reasoning on how they're going to pull all this off. But best of luck to them. Yay, Kentucky. Way to embrace cannabis. This is Gretchen for High 9 News.
Hold on, Gretchen.
Jason, you owe me $100. By the way.
Gretchen, all they're selling is Delta-8 products, though, right? And
they say it's not Delta-8.
Well,
not
so
Delta-8.
HHC, THCO. It's all
I'm
the
just
same
saying,
thing.
they said it's not Delta-8, and they
No, it's
also
Delta-9
admitted that
converted from
they're
CBD.
importing shit from Colorado, not legal. I
It could
wouldn't
be
tell
hemp.
people
It
that.
could be hemp. It could be hemp that they're importing.
We'll see. We'll
Gretchen,
see.
I love how you're congratulating these enterprising young women, but then
Bless
you
their
say,
hearts.
"Good luck getting out of
Good
jail."
luck.
Look, y'all are going to jail.
No, they're
Good luck.
doing is they're converting Delta-9 and Delta-8 from CBD. So it's like they're making it's like Florida. They're actually selling Delta-9 gummies and stuff, but it's all converted. It's isomerized from Delta or from CBD.
So it's all synthetic. It's not naturally.
I mean, that's what's happening in Florida. That's exactly what's happening in Florida. So
Okay.
they're taking, you know, a lot of people also could be taking the mother liquor from the process of like isolating.
Did you say the mother
CBD.
liquor?
The mother liquor, that's what it's called. Yeah.
Who licks their mother?
So the mother liquor contains all of the other cannabinoids other than the CBD. So it's concentrated a lot higher than what it was when you extracted it, which was way over 0.3%. or 0.03%. And essentially you're just like isolating the THC in there via chromatography or potentially even distillation and other processes. But chromatography is probably the safer bet with that. So
okay, so quick question, Saman. So they're isolating out 0.3% THC.
No. I'm saying when you're extracting, you're concentrating all those things. So if your plant is 0.3% THC, then it's going to be a lot higher in your extract, right? So then you're crystallizing the CBD out of that solution. So you're actually removing the largest, concentration of cannabinoids in that mixture. That's an isolate. Then there's a synthetic process to make Delta 9 from that, and it makes Delta 8 as well. And then the mother liquor also you can use, but as smaller concentration.
Mother liquor.
But yeah, I'm just blowing minds. Yeah, exactly. So that's the process, and that's what they're doing. It's all byproduct. So it's like there's.
So you would call this natural?
I wouldn't call it natural at all, and that's the problem. That's the complete. So it's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. It's like hemp and cannabis, same plant, same genus.
There's a fine line between just bullshit and lying. Come on, bullshit or lying?
You're creating all of these cannabinoids because of the market. It's illegal to have Delta 9 in all these other states. So you're creating all of these, subsequent things that are coming out of these genius processors that are like, hey, I'm going to convert this molecule to something else and sell it. That's
okay. Bottom line, Saman, are they going to jail?
They could. I mean, look, depending on how the Farm Bill and the DEA reacts to all of that stuff, it's a coin flip, and that's the.
Well, no, they have medical cannabis now.
Well, if they have medical cannabis, then they can have that. But what about that market? I think that's the whole point Jason's making is what about that market? What about the Delta 8, Delta 9 conversion market? What about Florida's market? All these things. They should just legalize cannabis.
This isn't Florida. This is Kentucky.
It doesn't matter. They have the same, it's the same basis. It's the same concept.
It's so funny when I hear people from Kentucky and Tennessee.
Hold on, Rico. What are you saying, Nicole?
I was saying it's so interesting when I hear people from Kentucky and Tennessee say that they have dispensaries. I'm like, no, you don't. and they're like, yeah, American Shaman. And I'm like, no, that's not a dispensary.
it's everything's like getting primed, but like it's like this is why this doesn't make sense to very intelligent people. Is like, look, just legalize cannabis because you're just making all this other bullshit, and now you don't know what's in a lot of these converted products. You're just
and then something goes wrong, and you're creating
a disaster. But you know how our government likes to create disasters, so it's like,
you don't like their entrepreneurial spirit.
I do, because I think that's the true ingenuity of humanity. But it sucks because it's like this plant does it better than in the lab. So just do that.
That's for sure. The funniest part about the article was calling Kentucky the cannabis capital of the world.
No,
these ladies are going to lead the way, Todd.
In all fairness, they kind of can't claim that because they do grow more hemp than any other state.
Okay, well then say that.
Not true.
So let's call them the hemp capital of the world.
Exactly.
Hemp is cannabis, bro. Hemp is cannabis.
Okay.
There's more hemp grown in Colorado, more hemp in Montana. No, Kentucky is not number one. Where are you coming up with your fake facts as usual, Jason Beck?
I'm just last time I looked, because I always thought Montana was the number one, and then all of a sudden Kentucky passed it. It was never Colorado.
I got access to the red phone on Mitch McConnell's desk.
You're just getting if you count all the weed that's grown in metric in Colorado and consider that all hemp, then yes, you would be 100% correct.
You were 100% wrong, as usual.
Where are you getting your information from? Mainstream sources, Gretchen?
Move along. I know. I'm sorry. I'd take it from real.
Let's go to a commercial. We're gonna be right back.
Stretching with Gretchen.
Keeping up to date on the evolving policies of relevant state, local, and federal governments is key to success. When the future of your business is at stake, you need representation as dedicated as you are. With a maze of laws and regulations surrounding cannabis, hemp, and psychedelics, knowing where to begin can be a challenge. Good thing the law offices of Omar Figueroa features a skilled, highly focused team ready to guide you through it all. They're accepting new clients in California and New York. So make sure you check them out at info@omarfigueroa.com.
The thoughts, opinions, and shade thrown at High 9 News are those of individual speakers and not those of any other speaker or his followers. The statements made do not constitute legal or accounting advice, and our speakers make no representation regarding the legal status of any substance in any country, area, territory, or its authorities. The views expressed in this room do not establish any fiduciary responsibility or relationship. Our sponsors do not imply or constitute any endorsement, bias, or of any opinion whatsoever on the part of any speaker on stage. If you are an easily offended person, grow some hemp.
You want to grow some of the best weed in the world? Then you must start with the best genetics in the world. Go to www.dnagenetics.shop to order regular, feminized, or autoflower beans. All of your favorite DNA genetics cultivars such as Kosher Kush, Skywalker Kush, and oh yeah, Chocolate Truffle Shuffle. Boasting more cannabis awards for their award-winning genetics than any other company in the world. Remember to go to www.dnagenetics.shop to see why our terps don't lie. Oh yeah. And just on that last little hemp thing, Gretchen threw some numbers up for us. She's saying that Colorado has 52,275 acres. Montana has 45,000 acres, and Kentucky has 26,500 acres. This is as of this year, Gretchen. Well, these
numbers, I believe, are from 2020. No, these are not the most recent I could find, but however.
Oh, well, then these are wrong
Kentucky
numbers.
Has not leapfrogged anybody. You're out your damn mind.
2020 numbers, you know they're wrong. But so coming up next, she's yeah, exactly. She's a cannabis patient, a plant medicine advocate. She's the founder of Purple Plant Magic and a national brand ambassador for Black Buddha Cannabis. And she is the Encyclopedia on Power 88 in Las Vegas, Nevada, every Wednesday morning. That's right. It is the purple-haired princess herself, Nicole Buffong.
Oh, thank you, Jason, for that lovely introduction. Good morning, High at 9 News family. Today, my story comes out of South Africa. Surprise, surprise. But the new hotel that has been built using hempcrete blocks and other hemp-related building materials. The original 5-story building was bought by Hemporium's co-founder, Duncan Parker, in 2016, and the exciting project has been undertaken by hemp producer Hemporium in partnership with Afromat Hemp and Wolf Architects. Once complete, it will house Hemporium's flagship store and the Hemp Hotel. Hempcrete blocks are made from the care of cannabis plants, as we know, along with lime and a chemical binder mix, and are extremely environmentally friendly, being carbon negative and providing awesome insulation so that less air conditioning and heating is required. Hemp projects are taking off around the world, and it's predicted that within 5 years, it will be normal to use hempcrete. I hope so. According to the New York Times, whilst hemp blocks are more expensive than traditional building products, they save money in other ways, such as reducing the construction schedule up by 30%. Unfortunately, the Cape Town project has been more expensive because hemp had to be imported from England. But with hemp cultivation licenses issued in South Africa last year, prices will drop for future projects as blocks will be sourced locally. Thank God. Calling it the world's first hemp skyscraper, the New York Times reported that 84 Harrington is already using from the ground, and at 12 stories will be the tallest structure in the world that incorporates largely hemp construction. Because of its load-bearing limitations, a traditional frame is still needed, but all of the walls are made from hemp blocks. Parker told the New York Times that once supply issues are sorted, hemp will become a construction staple in South Africa. The architects will next take on a housing development with 25,000 homes made from hemp blocks. I'm happy to see this. I'm happy to learn that they recognize that importing from another country, another continent, does not make sense, and that they should be using and creating hemp blocks right there in South Africa and using the materials that come right out of the country. So I'll be keeping an eye on this project to see how it progresses. And I also will be checking in with my people on the ground. Shout out to Dr. Kaya. To see whether or not these New construction, it actually employs people in South Africa. Are they importing workers to actually do the work? That's something that I'm interested in as well. But this is Nicole Buffong reporting from High at 9 News. I'd love to hear your opinion on this story.
I love the idea of using hempcrete. It could save the planet, literally.
Yes,
it creates jobs. It creates clean air, right? I think every corn farmer across the United States should eliminate corn, and which isn't really a food, and start growing hemp to create and this industrial revolution that we can do right here in America. But there's too much red tape involved. But if every corn farmer, like I said, turns their crop into hemp, we literally save our economy
and the world and the environment.
Can you make hemp bread like you can make cornbread?
Yes, you can.
Does anyone know what because you can make hemp flour. Does anyone know what how much people are using hemp fuel? Do we know what that looks like right now?
There's not enough industrial infrastructure to support that.
That's correct.
Okay, got it.
That.
Yeah. That's not realistic anytime soon. But I do love the hempcrete. I do love the fact that a number of municipalities here in America have adapted their building codes to allow for the use of hempcrete as a construction use. And now we just need more people to scale that industry, so then that way it's a cheaper alternative than traditional construction supplies.
And do away with all those harmful materials and chemicals.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about Antifa throwing firebombs at your thing, because hempcrete is fire retardant.
Or any of those January 6th insurrectionists, man. You have to worry about them throwing fucking bricks through your Capitol windows either.
Exactly. You can make hemp bricks. They're softer.
Correct.
They're actually not softer, but
exactly. Right. Yeah. They would be. Exactly.
Yeah, they are flame retardant.
But are they lighter?
Are we allowed to still say flame retardant?
Are they lighter, Todd?
They're not lighter. No,
they're not lighter.
They're heavier. I don't think it's about the same.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about the same, but it sucks in carbon dioxide, whereas concrete, puts out carbon dioxide.
Mm-hmm. So interesting. So you're saying a brick still weighs the same as a brick?
A brick is still a brick. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
A brick is still a brick.
This is a good one that Barney says: weed is food, weed is housing, weed is clothing. Our focus on medicine and intoxication is myopic and continues the stigma. Agreed.
Oh, yeah. We're going to go to a commercial. Thank you so much for that story, Nicole. We'll see you in a minute. Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
Next, he's a patient advocate and 15-year industry vet and award-winning solvent extraction pioneer. But more important than all of that, he is yet another dope dad on staff, getting shit done, setting the tone for the rest of the country. You know who it is, Saman Razani.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much. Here from SoCal. Thanks for all the good chatter today. This is a great day for the news and for the discourse in the chats. I have a story from our favorite marijuana moment today out of Arkansas, which isn't in the news much, but here we go. Arkansas lawmakers approved bill to protect medical marijuana patients' rights to carry concealed guns. Yeah, baby. Cha-cha. Okay, sorry, that was my attempt at being funny. Arkansas lawmakers have approved a bill in committee that would clarify the medical marijuana patients can obtain concealed carry licenses for firearms. The House Judiciary Committee passed the legislation from Rep. Aaron Pilkington, Republican, in a voice vote on Thursday, sending it to the floor. The measure states that a person's status as a qualified medical cannabis patient in the state cannot be used end quote, in determining whether an applicant is eligible to be issued a license to carry a concealed handgun. State statute would also be amended to clarify that participation in the medical marijuana program doesn't mean that a person is a chronic or habitual user of a controlled substance, which could otherwise disqualify people from obtaining a concealed carry permit. The State Department of Health, the DOH, would be barred from disclosing a person's patient status to the state police as a part of any investigation into concealed carry eligibility. That's very good. They're upholding HIPAA laws. I like that. While some states have moved to more broadly preserve firearm rights for cannabis patients and consumers, this legislation is more narrowly tailored to the concealed carry issue. The voter-approved constitutional amendment that legalized medical cannabis in Arkansas already provides that people will not be discriminated against because of their patient status, but a witness at Thursday's hearing said that some state forms still contain a question asking about medical cannabis. The bill would clarify the issue. While the state does not require people to have a permit for concealed carry, some Arkansas firearm owners prefer to have one because of the protections it can bestow when traveling in other states and because of the clarity it provides during police encounters. Arkansas voters defend a ballot initiative to more broadly legalize marijuana for adults in November. Meanwhile, the new Arkansas patient-focused bill comes as a new issue of gun rights for cannabis consumers and actively being taken up in at least 2 federal courts. The U.S. Department of Justice recently filed a brief in federal appeals court as a part of one ongoing lawsuit over the government's ban preventing medical marijuana patients from possessing firearms. Many of the DOJ's arguments in the brief filed echo points that the agency made an earlier filing in a case including a federal district court that dismissed the lawsuits that are now being appealed by its plaintiffs. But the latest document places new emphasis on the wide-ranging consequences that the Biden administration says would result from a ruling that favors the plaintiffs. Meanwhile, a different federal court separately ruled in February that the ban on marijuana consumers possessing guns is unconstitutional in a case that's also being appealed. Advocates have argued that the fight to end the federal ban on cannabis consumers isn't about expanding gun rights per se, rather it's the matter of constitutionality and public safety. Supporters of the Florida lawsuit have argued that the ATF the ATF requirement effectively creates an incentive for cannabis consumers to either lie on the form, buy a gun on the illicit market, or simply forego their right to bear arms. Excuse me one second. In 2020, ATF issued an advisory specifically targeting Michigan that requires gun sellers to conduct federal background checks on all unlicensed gun buyers because it said the state's cannabis laws have enabled habitual marijuana users, in quotations, and other disqualified individuals to obtain firearms illegally. In light of the federal court's February ruling on the unconstitutionality of the federal ban, a GOP Pennsylvania senator recently encouraged law enforcement to take steps to remove state barriers to gun ownership for cannabis consumers, focusing on medical marijuana patients. In Maryland, a key House committee also held a hearing in February on a bill to protect gun rights for medical cannabis patients in the state. Meanwhile, a GOP congressman filed a bill in January that seeks to allow medical cannabis patients to purchase and possess firearms. The legislation was also introduced in the 116th Congress, but was not ultimately enacted. And that's my story today. Guys, what do you have to say about this? This is a big story right here.
So
Big shout out to Arkansas.
So the feds don't want to come down on Florida for the new gun law that they just passed, which says that your background check is optional. Like you don't have to register your gun.
It's you don't have to have a permit for a conceal and carry.
That's right. Open carry. Anybody can carry a gun.
Yeah, open carry, similar to Arizona.
Okay, so anybody can carry a gun, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's the wild, wild west.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the feds aren't concerned with that, but they're concerned about people that are smoking weed and whether or not they're carrying a gun.
Exactly.
Okay. That makes a whole lot
you've heard of all
sense.
those stories where people get really, really high and then go rob a liquor store.
Yeah,
No,
or go
doesn't
shoot up
happen.
right. Go shoot up.
I mean, they're high. They're just high on something else.
Yeah,
Let's be
well,
clear.
that's
They're
for sure.
probably, on some other crazy substance. But like, are you surprised that the government's duplicitous? Are we surprised that the apple's an apple? Nah.
Okay, so are they taking the same effort for people who are on antipsychotics? Like, is that on the list? Like, well, I'm
How
not
about just
sure.
alcohol?
That part.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That part.
Is cannabis the only drug on the list that they're saying that
Yes.
you can have a what?
I thought,
Like-
well, I'm so
Alcohol.
confused. I
Alcohol
thought
is
this
what
story
makes
is about that these guys do get to keep their guns.
No, it's because it's that the story here, the real story, Gretchen, is that the federal government is still.
Oh, okay.
Like,
well, I'm talking
looking
about
at
the story in Arkansas that you just read.
Yeah, they're trying to promulgate this rule, but there's other rules that there's other congressmen from other states that were in this article as well that were talking about, trying to promote and also trying to disingenuously take the arms from cannabis patients. So there's still a battle. It's like there's no definitive thing. It's a tug of war in every state over patients' rights versus federal rights to bear arms. It's kind of just like a crazy situation, Gretchen. So, I mean, the story in particular, yes, maybe, was just about that, but there's more underlying circumstances and consequences here that need to be discussed by this group of folks here, this genuinely genius group of folks here.
The fact that it was originally illegal to be a patient and, own a firearm, that's just lack of education.
Exactly.
Right? Well, that's all it really is
that
the ATF doesn't want to understand weed. And, they make these ridiculous laws, so if you're a medical patient, you can't protect your home. It's just stupid.
That's just ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
That's so ridiculous.
Yeah, I wonder what noted prohibitionist Governor Huckabee Sanders thinks about this.
Oh, interesting.
No, you know who I actually wonder, now that you mentioned that, Rico, you know who I wonder has something to say more about this? It's probably the largest, biggest prohibitionist in the Senate from Arkansas, Senator Tom Cotton.
Thomas Cotton.
Mr. Anonymous Hold himself.
We should
since
send
this has nothing to do with federal law, who cares what he thinks? This is a state doing what they want to do. I don't know.
They are protecting patients' rights.
I get it.
They are
However,
protecting
Cotton
patients'
is
rights.
not a state representative, Jason.
Cotton is from Arkansas, though.
I get it, Jason. They're two different systems.
I understand that.
But they are protecting patients' rights. They are protecting their right to like information. So the HIPAA laws are taking effect. I think that's good. That we can always. That's different in other places, I'm sure. So that's cool that it's that they're progressive on that end.
Yeah.
I think this is a fine example of a states' rights argument when it comes to gun laws and cannabis.
It is 100%, without a doubt. Look at your dog, Gretchen. Just looking out the window.
Yeah.
Living the dream.
Trying to escape.
Yep.
Trying to escape.
She's not trying to escape.
Minding the business that pays her. Minding the
Get away
business
from
that
terrible
pays
clothes
her.
and wrap around
She's trying to
every day.
She knows where her bone is buttered. She's fine.
That's
Leave her
right.
alone.
That's right.
She's looking for those prohibitionists.
No, she's looking out that window at the 75-degree temperatures and wants to know when
she's
she's
trying
going
to
for
she's
it.
trying to hide
What?
that thing you have around her neck.
Something.
No, that's her little flower.
Oh yeah, but we got to keep it rolling. Coming up next,
Sorry.
that's right. He
Don't
is
talk
the
about my baby.
founder of DigiPath, the founder of the National Marijuana News Network, and loves to smoke some of the finest cigars while chilling in the hot tub in Las Vegas, Nevada. It is Mr. Todd Denkin.
What up? What up? What up? Thank you. Oh, go on. Oh, really? Go on. Thank you. Thank you. Well, coming from the Albuquerque Journal, a strong start for recreational cannabis in its first year in New Mexico. A year ago, hundreds lined up outside a cannabis shop in Sunland Park for opening day of recreational marijuana sales. In Albuquerque, the governor greeted dozens of customers at an uptown dispensary before they purchased legal cannabis for the first time. In the months following, more than 10 million transactions took place at hundreds of dispensaries across the state. Now, one full year into recreational marijuana sales, New Mexico's industry has sold nearly $301 million in cannabis products, which has accounted for more than $27 million and counting in collected cannabis excise taxes. Javier Martinez, a Democratic legislator who for years has supported cannabis legislation, said, "I'm beyond thrilled that the industry has gotten off to such a strong start. We legalized it the right way." At the end of February, the state's cannabis industry was roughly $32 million away from reaching $300 million in sales in the first year. It managed to do so in March with its highest ever sales. The previous sales record was set in December when the industry's pot shop sold more than $28 million in recreational cannabis. Recreational sales last April were about $22.1 million. By October, the state reached $25 million in adult use sales for the first time. Albuquerque, the largest city in the state, sold more than $96 million in recreational cannabis through 12 months. Las Cruces did $22.4 million, Santa Fe did $22.2 million, and tiny Sunland Park, a town of roughly 17,000 that borders West El Paso, sold more than $19.4 million in recreational cannabis, what the state data shows. Riley White, an associate professor of finance at the University of New Mexico's Anderson School of Management, said, "Strong consumer spending and historically low unemployment in New Mexico encouraged the growth of recreational marijuana, and cannabis taxes have provided an additional revenue source for the state and the municipalities." But White also pointed to the decrease in medical cannabis sales, which was predicted to happen after the introduction of the adult use industry. Medical cannabis is an area that Duke Rodriguez, the president of and CEO of Ultra Health, the largest cannabis business in New Mexico, says will continue to see further drops. But he adds, declines will also continue on the patient side. The number of enrollees has declined by nearly 30,000 since last April for the medical cannabis program, so long as adult use cannabis is available. Adult sales brought with it many new licenses. The state says that to date, there are more than 600 dispensaries, 351 producers, 415 micro producers, and 507 manufacturers. The number has drawn some criticism that the industry may be oversaturated, but Dolce Cannabis co-owner Victor Martinez is happy to be here. Martinez, along with his fiancée Samantha Zamora, were one of the first approved for a retail license last January under the Cannabis Control Division. "It's been a long road," Martinez says. "I know when you first open up a business, you're looking at taking a loss. But for us, it hasn't been anything like that. I'm happy where we're at, and of course, I'd love to expand, would love to do more, but I see us kind of going a long way with this whole cannabis thing." For our Greenleaf, one of the state's legacy operators, a business that operated in the medical industry prior to last year, the era of adult use has meant continued growth. The company, before being acquired by Colorado-based Schwazi last year in a multi-million-dollar deal, has grown from 10 dispensaries to 18. Ken Deal, who is the division president of Schwazi that oversees our Greenleaf in New Mexico, said, "I'm thrilled with how they are doing. There's unbelievable potential in this industry," he added. And finally, looking ahead in New Mexico, insiders say that year 2 is likely to be one of market correction, resulting in the shuttering of some cannabis shops across the state. But despite potential challenges, the industry can grow into much bigger and just might take some time, White said. Cannabis in New Mexico has a clear pathway to grow to more than $500 million per year, especially as we compare the sales to states that legalized years ago, White said. But the road will get rocky ahead. Many businesses find that their operations are unsustainable as market saturation limits their growth. Uncertainty in the economic outlook is also a factor, particularly since it's not clear how much consumers would cut back on recreational sales during times of economic stress. As the market matures, the industry will consolidate around the most successful companies with the greatest success in New Mexico. So New Mexico, the meth capital of the United States, embracing cannabis. I'm Todd Denkin with High at 9 News. What do you guys think?
I thought the Coachella Valley was the meth capital of the world.
Shots fired, Todd.
Breaking Bad was that was based in New Mexico.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, my stats are clearly based on Walter White.
See,
Dulce.
Okay,
It's
so
the biggest government cover up next to Area 51.
I mean, how much?
so do we?
Go ahead.
Do
Go
we?
ahead, Nicole.
Yeah. Do we think that that it's Texans that are going to New Mexico for this
Yes.
regulated weed? Because Oklahoma is still medical. You can't even get inside of the one of those dispensaries there, and so I think that maybe this will be what takes Oklahoma over the edge with looking at these numbers from New Mexico.
Well, yeah, I mean that border city of Sunland Park, right, borders El Paso, right, and they're at $20 million in recreational sales, which is literally $2 million less than Las Cruces and Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how much of this revenue is actually from Texas money.
I bet a lot of it is from Texas.
Sunland is right there. Jason, you remember that Sunland? Yeah, I remember that. That was right next to the El Paso. Right?
That's what I'm saying. These, I have a feeling that that New Mexico is going to be similar to Illinois when Texas put something actually like realistic in place,
right?
And then all of that money stays in Texas, and it's going to be similar to like looking like a Missouri market in Texas.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. I think Texas just decriminalized though, didn't they? They finally took one step.
Well, they're incrementalists out there.
Yeah.
Did they decriminalize? I don't think so.
They just passed some new legislation.
I mean, Austin. I think Austin's decriminalized.
I mean, Austin's weird.
Oh, okay. So the city of Austin. Okay,
yeah,
that makes more sense.
That's not new
because the governor of Texas is not passing anything reasonable.
Well, it's not even the governor, Nicole. It's more the lieutenant governor.
No, yeah, it happened. The Texas House of Representatives legislative panel this week unanimously approved a bill to decriminalize the possession of small amounts of marijuana.
Yeah,
under an ounce, under a pound.
Well, congratulations, Texas.
That's right. House Bill 218.
Stars tonight,
yes,
are big and bright.
Well, that's just the first step. They still got to do some more there. It's
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Right.
Oh, look at that. Look at that, sweetie. Look at that, sweetie. Hey, I think I have the same flower for my dog's collar.
Oh,
see?
God. Here we go.
Oh,
no. Stop it. That's how you know.
It was a Halloween thing.
I bet. Come on.
Or a New Year's thing.
Sure, make some excuses now.
That's all right.
Torturing your animals, too.
Torturing, that's like a little thing on the collar. Dude, it's a thing on the collar. I don't
the other dogs make fun of her?
Yeah. No, they love it.
100%.
Her name is Tulip. I call her Tulip for short, but her name is Tulip, so she's a flower.
I have to deal with people looking at her like she's a mean old pit bull. Yeah. And if I put a flower on her, then they're a little nicer.
That's exactly right. My dog's the same way. She's got a little.
Look at her. This little cuddle monster.
Cuddle monster.
Oh, sweet. Well,
poor Salem.
Yeah.
Poor Salem.
Hush, she loves me.
Gretchen, you obviously didn't read the pit bull manual. You shouldn't put flowers on their necks. You should put chains with big
spike
chains on them.
She's my princess.
That roam free in the streets of Washington, D.C. But we were at the top of the hour, folks. Thank you all with us for yet another episode of High Night. Catch us weekdays at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our live audience, members, and online supporters tuning in and giving us feedback on the daily headlines of chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. Our vetted industry correspondent team tuning in from all over the global community, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and adding your respected opinions to the conversation too. Our production team, thank you, Cloud Media Partners, House of Fuego, the wonderful Jaja Simone, all of our sponsors as well, keeping our AV struggles to a minimum. And then out to our haters. Why don't you just go down to Texas, man? Go down to Texas where you can't even buy weed. How about that? Fuck this. And always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason the High at 9 team shows up to read these headlines daily. We shall forever be in debt to your greatness. Mamana. It is Tuesday. What's the date again, Jason?
Indictment Day.
April 4th. The show is over.
Today's the day you make the
Go ahead,
Teflon Don. Teflon Don.
Teflon Don. That's amazing. That's amazing. So applicable. Let's see.
Even John Gotti ended up in jail, didn't he?
Oh my God.
The original Teflon Don.
The original.
Donald Trump's going to get
a
nice
York.
dose of that.
Should be interesting.
Law and order. But it is you all been blessed with today's top industry headlines. We hope it's enough to put in your pipe and smoke it at least until tomorrow. Y'all know who it is. Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street, signing off. And a reminder, when life gives you no place else to turn, you can always turn the fuck up. Nicole Buffong, what do you have for the people?
I would say keep smoking that good green. No boof.
No boof.
Yes, we have a
that
choice.
Good sunshine outdoor green.
Oh, that's boof.
Take us out, Adam.